With 3G Construction and Roofing here at Honeysuckle, taking a look at the leak underneath, or should I say revisiting the leak at the underside of the master shower. So we're in the basement bathroom, and we ended up putting an access panel on the bottom, so we always had the ability to access what was going on underneath the shower. Unfortunately, it is still leaking, and as I mentioned before, we have experience with these mud pans, and they are notorious for leaking. We know that it's coming from the shower pan. We just don't know exactly where. A lot of times they like to leak real close to the drain, but again, we just haven't been able to specifically pinpoint the exact area of where it's leaking. And we've tried the leak test, we've tried to isolate exactly where it's at. Haven't been able to do that, but I think everyone's on the same page with understanding that it's coming from the shower pan. I think we put some options together. We went with the most cost-effective approach. Rolled the dice a little bit. Unfortunately, it's still leaking, as you can see. So I went ahead and took the cover off the access panel, and you can see that it's been leaking right on top of it. So that tells a little bit of a story. And then you have some mold there. And if we can see that right where the light is. I'm gonna take the light off and zoom in a little bit here and see if I can't get a better look. So it's right there. I think you can see it. It's actually a little droplet ready to come down on us. And you can see the staining. I know that when we do these mud pans, they always make me a little nervous. We always go above and beyond. We put a pond liner in there, the mortar bed, of course. That's what they call the mud pan. And then we put a water-resistant membrane on there, which is kind of like a thick emulsion type of paint. And we'll usually do 2 coats of that and make sure that that liner is wrapped over the drain and tucked in there. I can't really say how this one was constructed. We just know that it's leaking. So I think you get the point there. I'm gonna go ahead and pause this, and we're gonna head upstairs and just take a look at that as well. See if there's anything new that could be found, or see what we can do to figure out a solution for this challenge here. And the texture came out nice when we did the drywall patch. That's the good news. Unfortunately, it looks like we have another one here. This drywall has been compromised, so that would have to all be redone there. Of course, the mold remediation, but that's all somewhat irrelevant at this point until we find out exactly what we can do to stop the leak. So we're back up top here. Looking at the drain, you can see last time we were here, you can see the epoxy. I hope you can see, this camera's not the best. And here we packed this with an epoxy on the top inside here. So I'm looking at it, and it still looks pretty good. It doesn't look like any water would get past it. And if you look down in here, boy, this definitely looks like some kind of buildup there. I don't know if it's because of the hard water. And And that's what it kind of looks like on the bottom too, that the water is just kind of hard and it's kind of causing that solid buildup. And I wonder if that's coming into play. So I don't see the liner that's folded over, but doesn't mean that there's not one. And if you look in the corner there, you can see how it's kind of shiny right there in the corner. So that's the clear silicone. And we sealed up the inside here. And I believe that there was another gentleman that came out here and did some sealing as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm solid 80 will say that it's not coming from the perimeter of the mud pan. I think it's coming somewhere from this drain. And even look, you can see this right here where it's still wet. You know, it doesn't take very much. There's a couple of low spots here where the water is just kind of standing. You see that quite a bit with these stone floors because they're so sporadic in height and size. You'll get a couple of areas where the water just kind of sits in between the stones. But I can't say if that's what it is. I think, well, since I'm here, I'm going to try to run some water down here and see if we can get it to leak. I also wanted to note, when I was walking out of the bathroom, I noticed that some of the grout was cracked. And so it brings a little curiosity on how the tile was installed, which usually, my guess, will have an effect on how the mud pan was installed. But you can see I'm just barely touching, the whole tile's moving. So I'm wondering if they used a concrete backer board. Let's see the tiles crack. My guess is that they probably did not, because that's pretty typical for the grout will crack like that, and then tiles will crack. They don't have the proper backer board, which thus could mean that when they did the pan, it wasn't done properly. But I'm just doing a little investigator work here. I don't know for a fact, but just kind of put the information together. So let's go downstairs and see if we can find ourselves a leak. So I'm back below, and you can see how there's a little drip that's wanting to come down right there. Right there. Still kind of hanging on there. Let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely building up. I just flicked it with my finger and it's kind of building up again. So somehow that water is getting to that location there. It's got to be around the drain. It's got to be. So when we go back up, we can look and see where the water is actually flowing right now. Let me go back up real quick here. So I got it kind of coming on right around this area right here. See in there, that build up there. I think that's going to come into play a little bit with what's going on. I think it's a combination of things, but that build up think what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a drawing of how these mud pans are constructed, so you can kind of see the so-called anatomy of how the mud pans look, maybe from a side view, and then maybe with an illustration I can kind of show you what I think is happening, and maybe we can figure out a solution without having to rip this whole entire thing out. I'd hate to see that. So let me do a little work and get back to you, and then we'll see what we can figure out. Thanks.